Hey there, welcome to my first video for this channel. Pleasure to meet you. I'm Asantoa, and in this video I'll be showing you how I make my favorite salted beef bean stew. Let's get into it. So I have some beans right there. I always pick my beans before I use it for stew, because that way when you pour the water you don't get a lot of spoiled beans rising to the top. So I'm just going to wash it quickly, and then I'm going to be showing you what I'm talking about so you see that there are some spoiled beans that have risen to the top. If you've not picked your beans, there'll be a lot. So I always try to pick the spoiled ones before I rinse it. So I'm just rinsing it a second time, and this is my perfectly rinsed beans. Okay, I'm going to be adding a lot of water because beans are very hard and they take a long time to cook, and then some salt, just a little bit. Don't put in a lot of salt, just a little bit. You can add more salt if it's not salty enough, but you can take out salt when it is too salty. Yeah, something like that. So I set it on the stove, been boiling it for about 45 minutes to an hour. Yeah, just going to let the water dry from that, and that's it. So guys, I'm going to be using 8 medium-sized tomatoes, some pepper, some garlic. If you don't like garlic, that's okay. I'm going to be using some ginger that I've chopped up, and then some onions. Yay. And then I'll be using my salted beef that I've put in water, because you have to let some of that salt melt off it. Okay, so guys, let us chop up our ingredients. So whenever I'm using tomatoes to cook, I like to remove the seeds, because they tend to make your food too sweet. So I always remove the seeds from my tomatoes before I use them, and I'm just going to throw that into the blender. So I'm going to chop up my onions as well. A lot of questions are being asked, and many people are requiring deep answers. If God really loves us, then why is there so much evil? Why is He tossing people into hell? What does He really want from us? But when you look at the situation very closely, is God really to blame? Many of us, when introduced to the concept of salvation, heaven, hell, and death, get it all mixed up. We imagine a big bully forcing his son down our throat and threatening to torture us forever if we don't accept Him. We imagine God's thunderous voice saying, "Be perfect, or else you know what's coming," as though He's setting us up to fail. The most misunderstood person in existence is God. But today, I will be God's defense attorney. So guys, this is my palm oil. You can use vegetable oil or any kind of oil for this recipe, but I prefer palm oil because I like the flavor, I like the color, and I like the taste, and I think it's more healthy. And so I just threw in some onions. I'm just going to let these fry for about 5 seconds, yeah? Just about 5 seconds, and then I'm going to throw in my salted beef. This is the core ingredients for this recipe. It gives it this flavor. I actually discovered this by serendipity. I just used it because I had it, and wow. And I've been using this for my bean stew ever since, because I like the flavor it gives it. And then that has been frying for about 5 minutes. So I'm just going to throw in my chopped up tomatoes. Okay. Let that fry for a while. You realize that after a point, it's no longer solid. The tomatoes are not solid. They are like melted in there. And then at that point, you add your blended tomatoes, onions, pepper, garlic, and then ginger. Give it a quick stir. And then just cover. Just cover it and allow it to sit for about 20 minutes, but be checking up on it. So this has been boiling or cooking or simmering, for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, that's okay. And then you realize that a lot of the water has evaporated, and it looks like stew now. So I'm adding just a little bit of seasoning powder, because you know that your beans has salt, your beef has salt, so you don't need salt for the stew. You just need a little bit of seasoning powder. That is if it's necessary, okay? Don't make the food too salty. As I said, you can't take out salt, but you can add more salt if it's not salty enough. Okay, and then I'm just going to be adding my beans little by little. So at this point you can just add your beans. Yay. So I'm adding just a little more. Okay, that's good. And I'm going to be adding water. Make sure you add water, else your stew become too thick. It will become too thick and it won't be free. You need your stew to be free, okay? When you add water, it gives it the right consistency, because this is going to sit on the fire for about 20 minutes more on very low heat, okay? So set it on very low heat, and then make sure you cover it. Oh yeah, I learned this thing from my mom and I've been doing it ever since. I'm cleaning it up because it looks neater that way. And then I'm just going to cover this, and voila, look at that. This has been on fire for about 10 minutes, and then all the water that we added, most of it has evaporated, and now you have stew, bean stew, the perfect consistency. It's not too loose, it's not too thick, it is perfect, it is good, it is delicious, it's not too salty, it's not too bland, it is the perfect taste, the perfect color. I love it, guys. This is my favorite stew, I think. I like beans. I think it's healthy, okay? And yeah, this is it. You see, for as long as we live, good and evil will always be the two options presented. And every action, thought, and word is a choice between the two. So there are two roads, one is called good and the other is called evil. And the destination of the former is life, and that of the latter is death. And because there is no one who doesn't sin, mankind in choosing evil is headed to death. And death is a state of eternal separation from God. You'd have to agree that if God was happy with that outcome, then he would just hum along to a tune in his head while gladly watching us trek down that road to eternal destruction. But then as a parent, he couldn't sit still. So he sent someone to stand in our way. What did Jesus do? To everyone he encounters, this is what Jesus is saying. Hey, the road you're on leads to destruction. But you don't have to keep going down this road. See, I have made a small path that connects this road to another road that is called good. That one leads to life. If you're willing, all you need to do is to step onto that path and join those on the other road. There is a man there called the Holy Spirit who will guide you to the final destination. As for the punishments you deserved, don't worry about it, I've handled it. But are we taking the path Jesus is offering? Many are just brushing him off and continuing down that same road that ends in destruction. Many just won't listen. So really, is God to blame? Jesus is still yelling at the top of his voice, please take the path I've created for you and walk the road that leads to life. Would you answer? Would you take Jesus' offer and be saved? Bless you guys. I love you.